The mining ship Prospect Dawn moved slowly through the quiet neutral zone, far from any busy trade routes. It was a simple human vessel, built for carrying minerals and equipment, not for fighting. Inside the ship, the workers followed their usual routine, checking scanners, repairing tools, and preparing for another week of collecting rare metals from a nearby asteroid belt. The crew of 20 people lived a peaceful, predictable life, and none of them expected anything unusual to happen. The captain of the ship, Jonah Red, was a calm man who always avoided trouble. He believed in staying polite with other species and never wanted his crew to face danger. That morning, he stood at the bridge window, drinking a warm cup of coffee, watching the stars, and thinking about the long journey ahead. Everything seemed normal. The scanners showed empty space around them, and the engines were quietly humming. But suddenly, a loud alarm rang through the ship. The sound echoed in every corridor, making the crew stop whatever they were doing. Captain Jonah quickly turned toward the control panel as red lights flashed around him. Unknown vessel approaching fast. The navigation officer, Mira Lane, said with a worried voice. Jonah leaned forward. "Show me." A hologram appeared above the main console. It showed a sharp, dark, alien ship moving straight toward them. The shape was long and aggressive, with wide wings and glowing purple engines. Jonah frowned as he recognized the design. "It's a Vorthan patrol ship," Mira said. The Vorthans were a small alien faction known for their arrogance. They believed their species was superior to most others, especially humans. They had a habit of stopping civilian ships to show their power. Most races ignored their behavior because the Vorthans were too small to start a real conflict. But they were still dangerous, especially to unarmed vessels like Prospect Dawn. "Open a communication channel," Jonah ordered. A moment later, the screen flickered, and the face of a tall, silver-skinned alien appeared. The Vorthan captain's eyes were narrow, and his voice carried a sharp tone of authority. "Human vessel," he said, "you have entered a zone monitored by the Vorthon Dominion. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." Jonah kept his voice polite. "This is a neutral zone. We are only miners passing through. There is no need for inspection." While the Vorthan captain's lips curled into a smirk. "Humans should not speak of what is needed. You are weak, soft creatures. You will comply." Mira looked at Jonah with worry. The crew members nearby waited in fear. They had no weapons to defend themselves. The only option was to stay calm and hope the aliens would leave soon. Jonah took a deep breath. "We have nothing to hide, but our ship is fragile. Any aggressive action could cause major damage. Please let us continue our journey." Any aggressive action could cause major." The alien captain laughed. "You humans always beg for safety. Very well. Perhaps a little encouragement will teach you obedience." Before Jonah could respond, the alien ship fired a bright, purple beam. It was not meant to destroy, but it was meant to frighten. The beam struck the side of the Prospect Dawn, shaking the entire vessel. Panels fell from the walls. Lights flickered, and several miners fell to the floor. A loud explosion echoed from the lower deck. The entire ship groaned as if it were in pain. Mira grabbed the console. "Hull breach on the starboard side. We're losing pressure," another crew member shouted. "Engine coolant line damaged. We're overheating." Jonah's heart pounded. He turned sharply toward the screen. "Stop! You're damaging a civilian ship." But the Vorthan captain only gave a satisfied smile. "Then surrender quickly." The screen went dark. Jonah rushed to the comm controls. "All emergency crews to the starboard side. Seal all damaged sections." "Mira, send a distress signal to Earth Command." "Yes, Captain." As the message shot into deep space, the crew worked fast to save their ship. They sealed broken pipes, patched air leaks, and helped injured workers. Even though they were afraid, they worked together with determination. Humans had always been like that, scared at first, but never willing to give up. Minutes passed, and finally, the ship stabilized. But the damage was heavy. Prospect Dawn could not travel far. They were stuck in the neutral zone with an angry alien patrol ship waiting outside. Jonah looked at the cracked window and whispered, "We didn't deserve this." Far away, Deep in the network of communication stations, the distress message moved rapidly across star systems until it reached Earth's frontier military network. There, in a secure command room, officers studied the signal with serious faces. Commander Elias Ward, a respected human leader, stepped into the room. He was known for his patience, intelligence, and strong sense of duty. His presence always brought calmness to tense situations. "What happened?" he asked. An officer handed him a tablet. "Sir, a Vorthan patrol ship attacked a human miner vessel in the neutral zone. They damaged the ship and threatened the crew. We believe they see this as an act of dominance." Elias read the report silently. His eyes narrowed, not with anger but with deep disappointment. Humans had spent years building peace across different species. They worked hard to create trust and avoid unnecessary conflict. And now, a small alien faction had attacked innocent workers for no reason. "They think humans are weak," the officer added. Elias looked up. "Many species know better. But the Vorthans, they don't understand humanity at all." Across nearby star systems, news of the attack spread quickly. Alien traders, diplomats, and civilians whispered in fear. They had heard stories of humans, stories that were sometimes exaggerated, sometimes true, stories about humans surviving impossible conditions, defending planets against overwhelming odds, and fighting with a strange mix of courage and compassion. One old alien merchant said to his friend, "Why would the Vorthans challenge humans? Do they not understand what they just awakened?" Another replied, "Humans do not start wars, but they do not lose them either." On the Vorthan homeworld, the leadership celebrated. They believed they had shown power over humans and expected humans to retreat in fear. They even prepared public announcements claiming victory before the real battle had even begun. They did not realize that their actions had shaken the galaxy and had pushed humanity into a defensive stance they would soon regret. Back on the Prospect Dawn, Jonah stood beside his tired crew. The engines were still weak, but at least the ship was stable. He looked at Mira. "Did Earth Command respond?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, Captain. They said a fleet is on its way." Jonah closed his eyes in relief. "Good. Help is coming." Outside the window, the stars looked peaceful again. But that peace was thin and fragile, because somewhere in the galaxy, larger human vessels were already preparing to move. Engineers checked engines, soldiers organized supplies, and medics stood ready for rescue operations. They were not preparing for revenge. They were preparing to protect, and though the Vorthans did not understand it yet, they had made a terrible mistake, one that many other species had learned long ago. If you harm humans, they will not rest until their people are safe, and humanity never travels alone. The whole galaxy felt the shift. Something powerful had awakened, something unstoppable. When humans arrive, the galaxy watches. The human response fleet did not rush forward with loud engines or angry voices. Instead, they moved with calm discipline, like a team that understood the weight of every action. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute Dawn, watching the stars stretch into long white lines as the ship jumped through hyperspace. Around him, officers worked quietly. No one panicked. No one shouted. They all understood one thing. A human ship had been attacked. Innocent workers were in danger, and humanity never ignored its own people. Elias turned toward his communication officer. "Status of the mining ship?" "They are stable, sir," she replied. "Their repairs are holding, but they cannot move far. The Vorthan patrol ship is still nearby." Elias nodded slowly. "We will arrive soon. Prepare our message. We will try diplomacy first." Some officers exchanged doubtful glances. The Vorthans were known for arrogance. They would not expect peaceful communication, especially after firing first. But no one questioned their commander. Elias Ward had a reputation for ending conflicts with intelligence rather than destruction. And when battles were unavoidable, he fought with precision, never wasting lives. As the fleet moved closer, Nearby alien systems detected the human ships on their long-range sensors. Fear spread instantly. Not fear of destruction, but fear of what this meant. In a crowded trade station orbiting a small moon, two alien merchants stared at the rising human signatures. "They sent the Resolute Dawn," one whispered. "That means humanity is serious," the other swallowed nervously. "The Vorthans do not understand what they started. Humans will not attack first. But once they stand their ground, nothing moves them." 1. Rumors spread like fire. Human response fleet mobilized. Commander Ward leading. Vorthan aggression confirmed. Every species knew what was coming, an unstoppable wave of human determination. When the human fleet exited hyperspace, they appeared in a perfect formation around the damaged mining ship. Their engines glowed softly, and their metal hulls reflected the light of a distant star. The sight was neither threatening nor weak. It was simply controlled power. On the Prospect Dawn, Captain Jonah Red stared at the view with disbelief. "They came this fast?" he whispered. Mira smiled in relief. "Humans never leave their own alone, Captain." Inside the ship, cheers broke out. Some workers cried softly. Others stood at the windows, touching the glass with shaking hands. The fleet represented safety, something they desperately needed. Elias ordered his ship to open a channel. His voice traveled calmly across space to the Vorthan patrol vessel. "This is Commander Elias Ward of the human fleet. The ship you attacked contained civilians. We request immediate dialogue." For several seconds, the Vorthans did not respond. Their silence was not fear, only confusion. They had expected humans to come screaming with weapons ready. The calm approach unsettled them. Soon, the screen lit up, showing the same silver-skinned Vorthan captain who had fired earlier. "You again," he said with a smirk. "You humans scrambled quite fast. Are you here to surrender?" Elias did not react to the insult. His voice remained steady. "No. We are here to understand your actions. You attacked a civilian vessel without cause. This is unacceptable." The Vorthan captain laughed. "Unacceptable? Humans have no power in this region. We teach respect to lesser species." Some human officers clenched their fists, but Elias raised a hand, stopping them. "You will stand down," Elias said gently. "We are not here to fight, but we will not allow you to harm our people again." The alien captain leaned closer to the camera. "You talk calmly. Human. Does fear make your voice quiet?" Elias looked directly at him. "No. Responsibility does." The Vorthan captain ended the call instantly, offended by Elias's calm attitude. He took the silence as weakness. Inside the Vorthan ship, First Officer Kelnar turned to his commander with worry. "Sir, their fleet is larger than expected." The captain waved him off. "They bluff. Humans rely on emotion. They do not have the discipline to win real wars." Kelnar hesitated. "I have heard other species speak differently. They say humans." "Enough," the captain snapped. "Prepare another show of strength." Kelnar obeyed. But deep in his mind, a small worry grew. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was dangerous. On the human flagship, Elias received a report. "Sir, their weapons are activating again." He sighed quietly. "They truly want to test us." But even then, he refused to attack first. "Defensive positions," he ordered. "Disable any hostile fire, but use non-lethal measures only." The officers began working instantly. No one questioned the decision. This was humanity's strength, discipline under pressure. Moments later, the Vorthan ship fired a bolt of energy toward the Prospect Dawn again. This time, human ships reacted with perfect coordination. A shield barrier formed between the blast and the mining ship. The energy beam struck the shield and dispersed harmlessly into space. The Vorthan captain stared in disbelief. "What was that?" Kelnar checked sensors. "Sir, the humans protected the civilian ship instead of attacking. They did it with incredible precision," the captain growled. "Then fire again." But before they could, several human vessels moved smoothly into position. Not attacking, just blocking every possible angle the Vorthans could use. The Vorthan weapons locked onto one human ship. The human ship quietly rotated and shut down only the targeted systems, making the shot pointless. The Vorthan weapons locked onto another. The human fleet shifted again, like a puzzle rearranging itself. No matter what the aliens tried, the humans prevented the conflict without firing. Kelnar turned slowly toward his captain. "Sir, they are not acting like a cornered species. This is strategy. This is coordination." The captain's confidence began to crack. Across the galaxy, observers could see the patterns too. Dozens of alien stations were watching the event in real time, analyzing human movements. A scholar from the Narration race whispered, "They predicted every attack." An elder sighed. "The Vorthans believe humans fight like beasts. But humans fight like survivors." Another added, "The humans are not trying to win a battle. They are trying to avoid a war." News networks replayed the footage again and again. Many species stared at the screens with one shared thought. This is not weakness. This is control. Inside the human flagship, Elias received a message from the mining crew. The hologram flickered, showing Captain Jonah. "Commander," Jonah said with tired relief. "Thank you for protecting us." Elias offered a gentle nod. "You are citizens. It is our duty." Jonah looked toward the window where human ships hovered like silent guardians. "The way your fleet moved, it was like watching someone shield a child." "We protect," Elias answered softly. "That is what humanity stands for." The call ended, but Jonah's words stayed with Elias. Protecting others, yes. That was the core of humanity's strength. As tension continued in the battlefield, the Vorthan captain grew frustrated. He expected humans to panic, beg, or flee. Instead, they kept blocking attacks with almost peaceful precision. He slammed his fist on the console. "Why do they not fear us?" Kelnar answered quietly. Maybe they do not fear war because they know how to win it." The captain froze. It was the first time he realized something painfully important. They never broke the humans' calm. He opened the communication channel again, intending to threaten them. Before he could speak, Elias's face appeared with the same steady expression. "Captain," Elias said, "this can end peacefully. Choose wisely. No anger, no pride, no anxiety, just calm human strength." The Vorthan captain felt something he had never felt before: uncertainty. Meanwhile, the galaxy's political leaders watched with rising concern. They remembered old stories of humans who fought without rest, humans who protected even their enemies, humans who turned disadvantage into impossible victories. One ambassador whispered to another, "The Vorthans do not understand. They have not just provoked a species, they have provoked humanity." Another nodded slowly. "If this continues, the Vorthans will learn why humans are feared not for their destruction, but for their endurance." On the resolute dawn, Elias stood tall. "Prepare for continued negotiation," he said. "But be ready. If they escalate again, we will end this without harming them." The officers nodded. The galaxy watched. The Vorthans hesitated, and humanity waited calm, patient, and unshakably strong. Because now everyone understood a silent truth. A simple mistake had awakened the most resilient species alive. The quiet space between the human fleet and the Vorthan patrol ship felt heavier than metal. A strange tension filled the air, as if even the stars were waiting to see what would happen next. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, his hands resting behind his back, his eyes steady on the enemy vessel. He did not wish for violence. But he also knew something important. The Vorthans were not done, and he was right. Inside the Vorthan ship, Captain Sarn was growing desperate. Nothing made sense to him anymore. Humans were supposed to be emotional, chaotic, and easily frightened. Yet here they were blocking every attack without showing fear or anger. He marched across the room and shouted, "Charge the main cannon." His officer Kelnar hesitated. "Sir, that cannon is meant to destroy armored ships, not miners. If we fire, do it." Sarn snapped. Kelnar swallowed. He followed orders, but his hands trembled slightly as he activated the weapon. Deep down, he felt something wrong, something dangerous. It wasn't human aggression he feared. It was human calmness. The Vorthan main cannon lit up, glowing brighter and brighter. The energy inside it roared like a storm. On the human flagship, sensors reacted instantly. "Commander, their main cannon is charging," the weapons officer said. Elias nodded, his expression unchanged. "Prepare countermeasures. Non-lethal, but decisive." The officers worked swiftly. No panic. No shouting. They had already accepted the simple truth: if the Vorthans wanted to force war, humans would protect themselves and everyone nearby. Even if it meant revealing abilities the Vorthans did not expect. When the Vorthan cannon fired, a massive wave of purple energy shot forward like a planet-sized spear. It moved fast enough to break through shields on most ships. But the humans had prepared. Elias raised one hand. "Deploy reflective barrier." A bright, shimmering shield formed in front of the human fleet. It wasn't a standard shield. It was a special type of layered energy field, designed for deflecting high-power blasts. The barrier pulsed, shifted, and twisted like a silver curtain. The Vorthan beam struck it. Light exploded across space. The beam bent, curved, and then scattered into harmless particles that faded into the darkness. The Vorthan crew stared at their screens in total disbelief. Kelnar whispered, "They deflected." "The main cannon?" Captain Sarn felt his throat tighten. "Impossible. No species has ever..." But his words died in his mouth. Because the humans were not counterattacking. They stood still, waiting. This was not desperation. This was not panic. This was control. Sarn finally understood something terrifying. Humans had not been trying to win the fight. They had been trying to avoid breaking the enemy. While the fleets faced each other, something more dramatic unfolded on the planet below. A small mixed-species colony caught between the conflict. The Vorthans had sent ground forces earlier to intimidate the civilians there. The colonists had taken shelter inside buildings, hiding their children and elders. A human rescue team landed despite the ongoing tension in space. It was a small squad, only 7 soldiers led by Sergeant Leo Carter, a man known for his stubborn courage. The colonists watched through cracked windows as the humans walked calmly into danger. They had no heavy weapons, no large shields, just basic gear and the will to protect. When Vorthan soldiers saw them, they laughed. "Only 7 humans. This will be quick." But it wasn't quick, not even close, because humans fight differently. The first Vorthan soldier tried to scare Leo's team by firing near their feet. Instead of stepping back, Leo moved forward, raising his shield to protect a nearby alien child. "Stay behind us," he shouted calmly. A second Vorthan aimed at a group of civilians. A human soldier instantly rolled in front of the beam, letting it hit his armor, refusing to move aside. The civilians gasped in shock. The humans formed a protective circle around the entire group. No fear, no hesitation. Their movements were simple but purposeful. Their eyes focused, their breaths steady. They were ready to stand there forever if needed. Vorthan soldiers became confused. "Why do they protect strangers?" One muttered. "Because that was the human way. They protect, even when it hurts. They protect, even when the enemy has no mercy. They protect, because they cannot walk away." As more Vorthan soldiers arrived, the situation grew worse. They attempted to surround the humans, hoping to force them back, but Leo and his team adjusted quickly, shifting formation to cover vulnerable spots, keeping the civilians in the center. A wounded colonist cried out, collapsing. A human medic sprinted through beams of energy, lifted the alien man, and dragged him behind the shield wall. "Hang on," she said. "You'll be fine." The alien stared at her in disbelief. "You risk yourself? For me?" She smiled weakly. "That's what humans do." Those words hit every alien witness with silent force. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Vorthan captain watched ground cam footage with rising horror. He saw his soldiers struggling against a small human squad, humans who refused to fight offensively, but still could not be pushed back. Kelnar stepped closer to the screen. His voice shook. "Sir, look at them. They are tired. injured. Yet, they still stand. Sarn felt fear creeping into his heart. Not fear of defeat, but fear of what humans were capable of when protecting others. He whispered, "This is not a normal species." Kelnar nodded. "No, sir. This is a species that does not break." Back on the ground, Leo's team was exhausted. Their armor was cracked, their energy shields flickering. But they stood firm, refusing to let the Vorthans reach the civilians. Then, something unexpected happened. A Vorthan soldier hesitated before firing. He stared at the humans bleeding, exhausted, yet still protecting strangers. He lowered his weapon. Another followed, then another. They had never seen such determination, such loyalty, such stubborn, selfless courage. One whispered, "What kind of beings are these?" Up in orbit, the galaxy received the same answer. Dozens of alien species watched the battle through live transmissions. They saw humans block attacks without killing, rescue strangers, and stand strong even when overwhelmed. An elderly ambassador whispered, "Humans, they are like storms with hearts." Another replied, "The Vorthans have made a terrible mistake. They believed humans were weak because they do not seek war. But they did not understand." "A younger alien asked, "Understand what?" The ambassador answered softly, "That when you threaten humans, you awaken something ancient inside them. Something powerful." On the resolute dawn, Elias received a message from the rescue team showing their situation. He closed his eyes briefly, then gave a simple order: "Send reinforcements to the colony. Maintain non-lethal engagement. Protect all civilians." Before the officers could respond, sensors beeped loudly. "Commander, the Vorthan flagship is approaching," the navigation officer said. Elias turned calmly. "Then the moment has come." Everyone stared ahead. The Vorthan flagship was huge, 10 times larger than the patrol ship. It moved slowly but carried weapons capable of leveling cities. The Vorthan leadership had finally realized the situation was spiraling out of control, but their arrival did not frighten the humans. If anything, it only confirmed something Elias already knew. The Vorthans were desperate. They had declared war on the most resilient species alive, and the galaxy finally understood the weight of that decision. When the Vorthan flagship opened communication, the commander expected fear. Instead, Elias appeared on the screen exactly as before, calm, steady, unwavering. The Vorthan commander stiffened. "Human, do you know who you face? We command the largest fleet in this sector." Elias met his gaze without blinking. "And we command the lives we swore to protect. We will not move. We will not weaken. And we will not abandon anyone." "However," the Vorthan commander faltered. He had seen many species submit, but humans did not submit. They protected, even when tired, even when injured, even when surrounded. And only now, too late, did the Vorthans understand the truth. They had not provoked a weak race. They had provoked the one species that refuses to break. The galaxy watched, waiting for the final turn. The arrival of the Vorthan flagship changed the battlefield instantly. Its dark metal surface reflected the light of distant stars, and its massive engines glowed like fire burning in space. For a moment, every ship, human or Vorthan, fell silent. The scene looked like the beginning of a large war, but the humans did not move. They held formation, steady and calm, their ships protecting the injured mining vessel like a shield of iron. Commander Elias Ward watched the flagship appear on the screen, his expression unchanged. He did not fear the new arrival. Instead, he saw it for what it was, a sign that the Vorthans finally understood they had lost control. The communication channel opened. A larger, more decorated Vorthan commander appeared. His eyes were sharp, and his armor carried marks of high rank. "I am High Commander Dravik of the Vorthan Dominion," he declared. "Human, you stand against our fleet. You threaten our authority. Explain yourself." Elias remained polite. "Your patrol ship attacked a civilian mining vessel in a neutral zone. We came to protect our people." Dravik frowned. "Your ships arrived in formation. You blocked our weapons, You interfered with our soldiers on the ground. These are acts of aggression, Elias replied calmly. No. These are acts of protection. Silence followed. Dravik expected anger, excuses, or fear, but humans showed none. And that made him uneasy. In the Vorthan flagship's control room, officers whispered nervously. They didn't fire a single shot, one said. They blocked 3 attacks, another muttered. They saved civilians, including aliens that aren't even theirs, a third added. Dravik listened as the whispers grew. Doubt spread across his crew like a slow wave. The broadcasts from the ground colony had already reached them. They had watched 7 exhausted humans defend an entire settlement and refuse to abandon even one stranger. Dravik tightened his jaw. How many humans were on the ground? Only 7, sir. And how many Vorthan soldiers? 43. The commander paused. 43 trained soldiers, held back by 7 humans who refused to fall. That was the moment Dravik felt the first true crack in his confidence. Down on the colony, Sergeant Leo Carter still stood with his team. Reinforcements had arrived, surrounding the civilians with more protection. The Vorthan soldiers, who once shouted with confidence, now lowered their eyes. Many of them felt ashamed. One young Vorthan soldier stepped forward and asked quietly, "Why did you protect us? Even when we attacked first?" Leo looked at him with tired eyes. "Because life matters." "Yours too." The Vorthan soldier froze. No one had ever spoken to him that way in battle. He slowly put his weapon down, shocked at the idea that humans valued his life more than his own commander did. Other soldiers followed, dropping their weapons. Not from fear, but from respect. The colony became silent as the last Vorthan unit surrendered. They no longer wanted to fight. They had seen something stronger than their weapons. Something deeper, human selflessness. Up in space, Dravik's screen showed Vorthan ground forces surrendering one by one. His hands clenched in anger, not at humans, but at the realization that his world had misunderstood them for generations. He turned back to Elias. "Human commander, why do you avoid war when you clearly have the power to win it?" Elias answered simply, "Because war destroys lives. Our goal is peace. But if someone attacks innocent people, we protect them with everything we have." Dravik stared at him. His breath grew slow. His mind replayed every moment of the conflict. Humans blocked shots without striking back. They offered medical aid to injured Vorthans. They protected aliens who were strangers to them. "What do you want from us?" Dravik finally asked. Elias replied, "A peaceful end to this conflict. Nothing more." The human words hit Dravik harder than any weapon. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, governments and civilians watched the live transmissions with growing amazement. On a distant moon, a group of scholars analyzed the footage. "Do you see?" one said. "Humans did not attack. They shielded," another replied. "Their strength is not their weapons. It is their will." On a trade vessel, a young alien commented, "The Vorthans declared war on a species that does not fight for glory. They fight only to protect." News networks spread a single phrase. "Congratulations, you just declared war on the most lethal species alive." But the phrase meant something different now. It did not mean humans were destroyers. It meant they were unstoppable protectors. Back on the flagship, Dravik took a deep breath. "Human commander, the Dominion will withdraw its forces. We will cease all operations in the neutral zone." Elias nodded. "That is good. We ask that your ships allow us to escort our civilians safely." Dravik hesitated again. "And what of our wounded on the ground?" Elias turned to his officers. "Prepare medical teams for the Vorthan injured." Dravik's eyes widened. "You would treat our soldiers, even after they attacked you?" "Yes," Elias said gently. "Peace is built through kindness, not revenge." That moment broke the last resistance in Dravik's heart. He lowered his head, something no Vorthan leader had done in centuries. "You shame us," he said softly. "With your restraint, with your courage, with your compassion," Elias answered. "We want the galaxy to grow, not to bleed." The Vorthan fleet began pulling back, their weapons powered down, their engines shifted to retreat formation. Human ships did not chase them. They simply watched and escorted the civilians to safety. Captain Jonah Red on the Prospect Dawn cried quietly when he saw the Vorthan ships leaving. "We survived," he whispered. Mira smiled beside him. Humans always survive. Hours later, the two fleets met once more, this time in a formal peace exchange. Every Vorthan officer expected the humans to demand compensation or punishment. Instead, Elias asked for only one thing: respect for neutral zones and protection for civilians. Dravik agreed immediately. "It will be done." Then, something strange happened. Dravik stepped closer to the screen and said loudly, in front of both fleets, "I apologize. On behalf of the Vorthan Dominion." The galaxy went silent. A Vorthan apology had never happened in recorded history. Elias bowed his head respectfully. Accepted. The conflict was over. Not with destruction, not with fear, not with revenge, but with understanding. After the fleets departed, a message spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. People shared it in markets, on screens, in classrooms, and in military training halls. The message read, "Never mistake human kindness for weakness. If they stand to protect, no force can move them." In many places, the story became legend. Children learned about the 7 humans who protected a whole colony. Soldiers studied the human defensive maneuvers. Diplomats used the incident as proof that humans were reliable allies. Even on the Vorthan homeworld, opinion shifted. Citizens questioned why they ever thought humans were weak. Many praised the humans' mercy and courage. As the resolute Dawn traveled home, Elias stood alone for a moment, watching the stars. His second-in-command approached. "Sir, are you satisfied with the outcome?" Elias smiled gently. "Yes, peace won today." "And the galaxy?" Elias nodded. The galaxy learned something important. Humans are not dangerous because they seek war. Humans are dangerous because they refuse to let war take lives. The officer laughed softly. "Then the Vorthans were lucky." Elias shook his head. "No. They were taught." He looked out the window again. "Congratulations to them," he whispered. Today, they learned what humanity truly is. Across thousands of worlds, one final message became a proverb repeated for generations. If you threaten humans, pray they choose mercy. If you ask for help, they will move stars to protect you. And thus, the war ended before it even began, because the galaxy finally understood the truth. Humanity's greatest weapon was never violence. It was heart.